Hi everybody, and welcome to Two Wrasslin Dogs Farms. So it's August and everybody's gardens or CSA baskets or farmers markets are filled with tomatoes, and it's time to start learning how to make roasted tomato sauce. So now most people are daunted by making tomato sauce because they think it's a really big process, and if you're going to make a traditional Italian tomato sauce, it is a big process because we usually get crates of plum tomatoes and boil them, and you usually invite your whole family over. But if you're like many people, you have a mixture of different tomatoes that you've been growing. So for example, I have some tomatoes that are all different heirloom varieties. Plus you're probably getting lots of other things like peppers and onions, and you may be starting to get carrots, and you're definitely going to be getting zucchini in your CSA baskets and your gardens. So those are things that you can incorporate into this particular sauce. So it makes it a great way to also kind of get your kids to eat vegetables they're not always able to eat. So the basic process with making the roasted tomato sauce is you start off with your baking pan filled with roughly chopped tomatoes. A baking pan like this, you're going to probably want to start off with about 10 to 12 tomatoes that are this size. And you don't have to be real fancy. We're just going to be cutting them in a rough chop, just like that. And I like to cut and trim the stem ends. You're going to be using a food mill, and that's going to be processing out the seeds. But I like to just trim a little bit, but you don't have to be that concerned. Now what this is also great for is if you've got some tomatoes that aren't really very pretty, you can very easily do a little surgery and cut away the bad parts and make the sauce with that. And see, this tomato, the top is a little wrinkled, so it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be that pretty. You just want to get a nice variety of tomatoes so that it gives it a very nice, complex flavor. So now, once you have a nice layer of tomatoes covering your pan, you're going to add some other things to it. So I'm going to add some peppers. So this was one of those purple bell peppers and a small light green Cubanelle pepper, which is another sweet pepper. This was a small white onion. I found a couple of really beautiful carrots at the farmer's market, and I'm going to be making some stock later, but I like adding carrots to the sauce when you have them around because it adds a really nice sweet flavor. Zucchini. Now you wouldn't think of adding zucchini to tomato sauce, but what's great about this is it actually gives the sauce a little bit of a creamy consistency. And we're going to add 1 clove of garlic. Now as you'll see, I have not bothered to even peel it. And I have a wilted piece of parsley, which I rinsed. A little bit of basil from my garden. A little bit of celery, also from my garden. A 1/4 cup of olive oil would be enough for this pan. And a good helping of salt. Now I'm using a seasoned salt that I make that has mint and lemon in it, but you can use any old salt. But you want to add the salt because the salt helps the vegetables release their liquids. If you want to, you can also add a little bit of sugar to this. It helps with the caramelization, but if you're concerned about your sugar intake, do not add sugar to it. I'm not adding it. And then you just toss it around a little bit. And what you want to make sure is that you submerge the green herbs so that they don't burn. And just going to get it tossed. And someone must be walking by the house right now. Either that or Minnie is just letting you know that it's a really delicious sauce. So that's about it for now. And what we're going to do is, if you have a stove that has a broiler, you're going to put this in under the broiler for 10-15 minutes and keep checking it and turning it until it's got a nice caramelization on top. If you don't have a broiler, you can put it in your oven at 450 degrees and check it every 20 minutes. Now, we already have a pan in the oven that's ready to go. So as you can see, it gets very caramelized. And I'm just going to move this over here, out of our way. Now, if you do not already own one, get yourself a food mill. Because a food mill is a great thing to have, especially if you're trying to save your harvest. And most food mills come with 3 discs. The rough one, the fine one, and I'm going to use the medium-sized one, which will be enough to let the seeds get caught in the seed mill and not into the sauce, but not too small so that the sauce is very watery. So we're going to just set that in. If you do not have a food mill and you want to find one, I recommend looking for one that has these legs here. Because if you don't have that, it's kind of difficult to do this job. You have to hold your food mill. So I'm just going to rest the mill right on top of the bowl. And if you wanted to, you could really just have this as a bruschetta with some bread. But we're going to turn this in.